Are you? Hey everyone, are we ready to get started? Is our technical support team all ready to go? Awesome. Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Today is Tuesday, April 22nd, 2025, and this is a special governing board meeting for the Litchfield Elementary School District Governing Board. I hereby call this meeting to order. The first item on the agenda will be the Pledge of Allegiance. If you could please stand and join us. Tuesday, April 22nd, 2025, and this is a special governing board meeting for the Litchfield Elementary School District Governing Board. I hereby call this meeting to order. The first item on the agenda will be the Pledge of Allegiance. If you could please stand and join us. Thank you. Next, we will take a moment of silent reflection. Thank you. Next, we will take a moment of silent reflection. Okay, next we will move on to probably what most of our awesome people here in the audience are here for, recognitions and celebrations. This will be led by Executive Director Nuanez.
Good evening, Madam President, Governing Board members, Superintendent Davidson, fellow cabinet members, and our honored guests, both present and online. Tonight, we pause to shine a well-deserved spotlight on a very special group of people, our volunteers. Whether they're supporting in a classroom, helping our reading literacy improve, helping in the front office, leading a PTA, PTSA, PTO, booster club, parent organizations, helping in the front office, love our schools day, helping children succeed in school. All these great volunteer opportunities that come to our district. Your commitment to our students and staff does not go unnoticed. You are the friendly faces that greet our students with a smile, the steady hands behind countless projects, and the heart behind so much of what makes our school community thrive. Your presence creates a ripple effect that reaches out far beyond any single day, any single event, or any single classroom. It is what creates the culture that is the community of LESD 79. In LESD 79, we believe deeply in the power of partnership, and our volunteers embody that belief every single day and every single moment that they show up at our schools to help our children. You give your time, your talents, and your hearts, and in doing so, you help build something that is truly extraordinary. We honor you tonight. We appreciate you always, and we thank you for reminding us always that #together we can. Let's give a round of applause to all of our amazing volunteers. Now I'd like to invite you all up with representatives from the school if you have some gifts to share with your volunteers, and let's just have everybody come up and let's take a great group picture and show our community just what an amazing group of volunteers that we have in this district. Yeah.
I'm ready. Is it ready?
It's all right.
Sorry.
Two, one, amazing volunteer. Yes.
Before you guys run out of here, I just want to say personally from the board that we appreciate everything that you guys do. Sorry. We just want to thank you guys for everything that you do on our campuses. We know that schools cannot do it alone. It takes a village to have our schools run as efficiently and effectively as they do. And as somebody that started out just helping with Roby Rodeo back in the day at Barbara Roby before I moved on to PTA and state PTA and then eventually ended up here. I know how sometimes it is a thankless job that you're doing and you give up tons of time to make these events and these things happen for your students and for your staff on the campuses. So thank you very much for everything that you do every day to make the schools a better place for all of those people that have to be there every day and the time that you give. And hey, if you're interested ever in coming and moving up and being a board member, there's going to be an election next year. So keep that in mind. Dr. Davidson also had something he wanted to say.
Thank you, President Zeidelman. You beat me to it, but I would say we'd be remiss not to recognize you three who are currently here with us tonight, as well as our other two for your volunteer efforts. So thank you, governing board members. This celebration tonight was on behalf of Volunteer Appreciation Month from last month. And we certainly recognize that there were a lot more volunteers than those of you that could come tonight. But again, thank you and congratulations. We could not be what we are as a district without all of your hands. So thank you for being here tonight and celebrating with us. That there were a lot.
Now, I'm sure many of you guys are going to sneak off, but we'll move on to no public comment today, right, guys? None. Okay. I'm going to give us just a minute so people can walk out and then we will. Now, I'm sure many of you guys are going to sneak off, but we'll move on to no public comment today, right, guys? None. Okay. I'm going to give us just a minute so people can walk out and then we will. Okay, now that it's much calmer in here and all the fun people have left, we'll move on to our business, I suppose. With no public comments, we will move on to the adoption of the agenda and approval of consent agenda. I'll see if anybody has anything they want to take off. Ms. Moran?
I do not.
Mr. Mikes?
None for me.
Okay, if someone wants to make a motion.
I will move to adopt the agenda as presented as to the order of business items and approve the consent agenda as presented.
I second.
Having a motion from Ms. Moran and a second from Mr. Mikes, I'll call for the vote. Ms. Moran?
Yay.
Mr. Mikes?
Yay.
I'm also a yay. Motion passes. Okay, moving along, we are going to move on to our action items. The first item on the agenda will be the ratification of submissions of certifications requested by the Arizona Department of Education. This is going to be by Dr. Davidson.
All right. Thank you, Madam President, members of the board, community, and those out there watching as well. Tonight, this particular agenda item is one that we wanted to bring to the governing board as a ratification of the federal and state assurances that most recently came to us through the federal and state Department of Education. What I wanted to make certain that we discuss tonight is number one, and first and foremost, we do follow the law here in Litchfield Elementary School District. So I wanted to raise that up. With this ratification governing board, we will remain eligible for over $2.7 million in federal funding that supports our schools and our students. We wanted to highlight, at least from a district level perspective, that we still follow current policy AC, which is our non-discrimination policy. And also there is some information regarding the state and federal assurances on FERPA. We certainly follow the 4 items that came our way regarding FERPA and parental rights. And so bottom line, I stand for any questions. The 2 documents were there for viewing. No presentation tonight, but really just wanted to make certain that we have a conversation around following the law. So thank you.
Ms. Moran, did you have questions or comments?
I don't have any questions. However, I do have a couple of comments. In the past, there has been misinformation communicated about what this board and what this district has and has not done. So I want to be very, very clear in saying that we do not now, nor have we ever used a policy or program to advantage one's race over another. In this district, what we have done is treat all people with dignity and respect by seeking to understand, value, and accept all members of our LASD family and community with consideration and appreciation, no matter their socioeconomic status, race, color, religion, creed, gender expression, age, national origin, disability, marital status, sexual orientation, military status, political beliefs, or other aspects or identity. And we will continue to do so.
Mr. Mikes?
Nothing for me.
I don't have any questions. I just hope the community understands that us signing these things and us bringing this to the public is not to say that we are changing anything that we're doing, because we already were complying with all of the laws that are out there. So this is not a change for us. This is us just saying, yes, we will keep doing the right thing that we have always been doing. And I encourage people to read what the things are that we're signing, because what they say and what the implied meaning of them are maybe not the same thing. So I encourage you to read what it is that we're agreeing to. So with that, if somebody would like to make a motion.
President Zeidelman, real quick, if I can
Yes,
interrupt
please, go
before a
ahead.
motion is made, and often Ms. Moran steals my thunder a little bit, but I wanted to end with the fact that we are an open door school district. We serve whoever comes through our doors, whatever needs they may have, we do our best to meet them. We have done that and we will continue to do that. So thank you.
Yes, thank you for saying that.
Move to, oh, you want to call for a motion or to
Yes, if you would like to make a motion, go ahead.
move to ratify superintendent's execution of requests for certification and assurances issued by the Arizona Department of Education pertaining to compliance with requirements of Title IV and the Civil Rights Act, the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act, and the Protection of Pupil Rights Amendment in order to preserve eligibility for federal grant funding.
I will second.
Having a motion from Mr. Mikes and a second from Ms. Moran, I'll call for the vote. Ms. Moran?
Yay.
Mr. Mikes?
Yay.
I'm also a yay. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Next, we are going to move on to community education fees for 25-26 school year. This is going to be by Dr. Stair. Next, we are going to move on to community education fees for 25-26 school year. This is going to be by Dr. Stair. Hold on just one second. I think they're coming to make sure the mic is, oh yeah, there we go.
And down.
All right. Down goes next slide, but we don't know which way is up. All right, thanks.
Okay, perfect.
Appreciate it. Had a dream last night that it was a much bigger crowd and I had forgotten to wear a shirt. And so neither one of those is coming to pass. So, yeah. We're here today to talk a little bit about our tuition rates for the coming year. We've been working with Michael on what would be appropriate rates for the coming school year. I have a couple of different proposals here for you to consider. And nothing's happening here. Okay. The little clicker's not. Let me check. There you go. Okay. So to summarize up front, what I'm recommending is that we, first of all, increase half-day preschool tuition by 6%, as well as extended day tuition on all of our programs by 6% for non-preschool families. I'll talk a little bit more about the preschool families in just a second. Also proposing that we would keep our current full-day preschool rate and not increase it, but require a separate payment for PM extended day and create a preschool-only extended day rate to go along with that. Just as a matter of background, historically, we have always offered a 12-day program for preschool, and that's actually not typical anymore. Very, very few school districts, in fact, I don't know of any school districts that still do that, where for one price, they offer 12 hours. And part of that is because then you have lots of parents who simply don't need 12 hours a day. They're only using the school day, but they're paying for the 12 hours. And so we're trying to rectify quite a few things, but that's one of them. And so by the proposal here, our current rate for PM only extended day is 265. 6% higher would be 281. And then the median is off to the right there, and that's a median of surrounding and comparable school districts throughout the valley here. And so we'd still be well below the median price. Our AM only is 145, 154. Couldn't get a median on that because not a lot of districts do it quite like we do it for the same amount of time each day. AM PM though, 349 is our current rate. It would rise to 370. The median is 428. And so again, we'd still be below the median for the valley there. And then we have a minimum use program. And again, not a lot of districts do minimum use. They do different rate structures than that. But it would rise to 182. And with minimum use, they get 8 days per month that they can use. So a little bit more flexibility for families for that amount of money. So I think I'm pretending to hit the button and then you're forwarding it for me. I appreciate that. And so this is kind of the crux of my presentation here concerning preschool. Our current tuition for full day preschool is $885. And we have kind of a problem with that where $885 is between the median, it's above the median for school day programs. Most districts offer a 7-day school day or 7-hour school day. But we're well below the median for 12-hour programs. In other words, for school day plus extended day programs. And so our tuition is kind of falling in between there. So we're recommending that we stay at that tuition rate, but we create a PM preschool extended day rate that brings us up to that median so that the parents who need extended day could have it. The parents who don't need extended day aren't having to pay for it, but we're not, I guess, unfairly punishing people for needing to use extended day by charging them more than what would be the median. This would be the equivalent of, well, I'll say this, if 1/4 of the families use PM extended day, right now about 45% of them do. So if that went down to 25%, this would equate to about a 5% raise in our income for full day preschool. We would still include AM extended day. They would still get that as part of the deal. And so really, it's not fully comparable with the median because we're offering an 8+ hour day, about 8.5 hours in the day. And their median rate is for a 7-hour day, but that's about as close as we could come in comparing. We would be above the median for a school day program. And then half day, we're proposing that we raise from 362 to, well, the number's wrong there. I think it's 380, 384, something like that. Again, still well below the median, 445. Thank you. So our goals are to maintain a fiscally sound and sustainable program. I think a shift in my thinking over the past few years is that sustainability can't equal breaking even, especially with the instability of inflation right now. We have to be a little bit ahead of the game. We have to be making more at the start of the year than we're absorbing, or else by the end of the year, we're always going to be behind the eight ball. We can also compensate for foreseeable increases in costs. And of course, the keystone resources readiness. We want to ensure that the resources necessary to maintain and continually improve high quality services are there for us. We believe it is what's best for kids. We believe that maintaining stable and sustainable programs on campus is in the best interest of the children and families who rely on us as a source of safe before and after school care. I will say we'll still be below the cost of any commercial daycares around. We're just trying to compare ourselves to other school districts because it's not fully comparable with commercial daycare. Anything else? Financial impact of preschool. Clearly, the tuition is currently meeting program costs, but we're getting pretty close to that break-even point. The proposed increase will compensate for pay increases, inflation, increased operating costs. We know costs are about to go up. And again, we don't want to get down to that break-even point where we start again, because by the end of the year, again, we'll be in the red. Extended Day is currently taking a loss on preschoolers in their program for up to 5 hours per day. And let me explain that for a second. We look at the accounting separately to see how much we're making and spending in preschool and how much we're making and spending in extended day. But really, there's a lot of overlap. The kids go from preschool to extended day right now, but we're not accounting for the cost to extended day. So extended day is losing money on these kids because it's all being accounted to the preschool side. And so we want to just kind of level that out. Another issue is in our attendance tracking program, the managers have to go back and forth between preschool and extended day. They have to log out of extended day, log back into preschool every time a preschooler or an extended day kid leaves. This would put them all in one database. It'd be easier. It'd also be safer to track them because they would all be on the same roster, all in the same role, all in the same database. The financial impact on extended day. I noted there that 4 years ago, tuition was increased 2% to compensate for online payment processing fees. Currently, those absorb about 4% of our gross revenue, just maintaining the software and the processing. I will note that some other districts have chosen this year not to raise their rates, but simply to pass on that cost to parents. That's not what I'm proposing today, but I think it should be held in mind for future consideration. Our current tuition is not meeting program costs in extended day. There has been a shift toward part-time enrollment options, and that's been part of, I think, our surprise this year is, you have to base future trends on what you're seeing currently. And last year we had a lot more kids enrolled in PM and AM/PM programs. This year we have a lot more in drop-in programs and the minimum use programs. And so families, I think, are looking for more flexibility in how they use it, but that lowers our overall income. The proposed increase will help meet anticipated program costs. And of course, families are impacted by this. In community education, currently we have, this is a couple weeks ago, but 1,090 extended day kids and 358 preschool children. And of course, it will also impact current and prospective employees. And the new rates would take effect starting July 31st. We would wait until then. It's the first day of school because our summer camp rates are set. And so we don't want to surprise families with a new rate in the middle of the summer. I'm happy to entertain any questions you may have.
Ms. Moran.
I don't have any questions, but I do have a couple of comments.
Okay.
Which is that I appreciate over the years the thoughtfulness that we put into making these changes. We don't want to raise rates. However, these programs do need to be sustainable and cover their own costs. And so we've tried to do that in a systemic, thoughtful way. And I do appreciate that we are still very competitive with other options. And so hopefully this will remain one of the best options for our families going forward.
Thank you.
Mr. Mikes.
Yeah, no questions for me. I appreciate the presentation and the clarity for everything. And also I appreciate this, to tease off of what Ms. Moran said as far as that concept. We're not We're not here to make money off of the kids or the community. We're here to serve them, and going through and using this systematic approach to making sure that we level costs and have as little impact as possible is appreciated. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
May I make a comment before we
Mhm.
go to a motion? So Dr. Stair pointed it out, but we did have a typo on slide 5. The proposed preschool rate for half day would be $384. So that's just applying that 6% increase figure. I thought by me
Which one
saying
was
that
Which one was that?
the half day 3 hour
Oh.
preschool rate, presently it says there would be no change, but we are proposing
Okay.
the 6% increase on that rate as well. I'm hoping that by saying this, maybe your motion can be with changes as discussed. But thank you.
Don't worry, Michael. I was going to take care of that. But I don't have any questions either. I also appreciate that we're kind of keeping an eye on this, and we're not charging more than we have to, but we are keeping the program sustainable because that's important. And I feel like I remember before it was the opposite, where preschool was losing money, and maybe I'm wrong. An extended day was the one that was making money. So it's weird how
It
that's
was that way at
shifted,
one point, yes.
right?
Yes.
But that's how we're keeping an eye on things, and we're shifting things as we need to. We're still a very competitive option, and we're still the best option, because then your kids don't have to go somewhere else. They don't have to get on a bus somewhere else. They don't have to get picked up by somebody else. They're all in the same place. And you know that nobody's going to love your kids and take care of your kids better than anybody that works for our district. So I hope that families will continue to use us going
Right.
forward, even with these changes.
I agree. Thank you for saying that.
If anyone would like to make a motion.
I'll move to approve the extended day and preschool rates for the 25-26 school year as discussed.
I will second.
Having a motion from Mr. Mikes and a second from Ms. Moran, I'll call for the vote. Ms. Moran?
Yay.
Mr. Mikes?
Yay.
I'm also a yay. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Okay. We are going to move on now to discussion items. We're going to discuss the Auditor General School District spending analysis for fiscal year 2024. This will be by CFO Vaughn.
I'm just going to pause for a moment to get the slide changer.
We're all good.
This is the moment we've all been waiting for. So thank you, Madam President, members of the governing board, Superintendent Davidson, colleagues and community. Thank you for joining me tonight to discuss the school district spending report published by the Arizona Auditor General's Office. I think Ron was right. I think it's just a mirage. There we go. All right. This presentation aligns with the district's keystone of resources, but also speaks to readiness and relationships because of how we are utilizing those resources. This report, published by the Auditor General, is meant to meet the requirement for their office to monitor the percentage of each dollar spent in the classroom by Arizona school districts. The report was initially released on February 28th and is available on the Auditor General's website for all districts. Tonight, we'll be walking through the report together. The report looks at the spending of school districts and breaks down that spending into several different categories. The highest level of these categories are operational spending and non-operational spending. Operational spending is your day-to-day spending and are coded in our accounting system and in the data shared with the Auditor General's office to allow for comparison across districts and the nation. Operational spending can be further broken down into classroom and non-classroom spending. Classroom spending, by the Auditor General's definition, includes instructional, student support, and instructional support expenses. Instruction is primarily your teachers and instructional aides, as well as instructional supplies and athletics. Those expenses touching primary instruction of students. Student support is focused on additional services students need to be successful and can include counselors, special education related service providers such as speech pathologists, nurses, and attendant services, to name just a few broad categories of spending considered student support. Instructional support are focused on supporting the teacher and instructional personnel. They include teacher training, curriculum development, special education directors, and instruction-related technology services, as well as other spending that's focused on supporting instruction. These three areas in total, as you will see on a future slide, make up the classroom spending shown in this report. Non-classroom operational spending covers spending in the areas of administration, plant operations, or really maintaining and running our buildings, food service, and transportation. A description of each is shown on the slide. Non-operational spending includes spending to acquire capital assets such as equipment, land, and buildings, as well as the associated financing costs. Also considered non-operational is civic activities, such as allowing our facilities to be rented out by community groups. This slide is a screenshot from the report and shows that the district's classroom spending is 72.8%, with 58.9% of that being direct instructional expenses. As part of this report, the Auditor General's Office also places districts in a variety of peer groups for comparison. This slide shows our peer group for instructional spending. We spent more as a proportion of our spending on instruction than any other district in our peer group in fiscal year 2024. This slide shows a year-over-year comparison of spending per student in the various areas. You can see that spending increased from 2023 to 2024, supported by the increased funding received from the state. Significant areas of increase per student spending is instruction, with more moderate increases in other areas. Instruction would have increased due to the raises provided and increased cost of contracted employees. This report also works to provide insight into areas districts can potentially improve their efficiency in operations by comparing spending between similar peer districts. According to the Arizona Auditor General, our administrative spending is considered very low. Our spending on maintaining our facilities is comparable, and we have less square footage per student than our peer districts. And what that really means is we're more efficient with our use of our square footage. Our food service spending is considered low, and spending per rider is considered comparable. Ultimately, this report is showing that in 2024, the district operated efficiently, and that this allowed us to push as much into the classroom as we did. This slide shows the increase in our average teacher salary since 2017, since 2017. The significant increases earlier in this time frame were driven primarily by the 20% by 2020 initiative, which provided districts with additional funding to support teacher compensation. This slide uses that same peer group analysis to show our average teacher pay in comparison to our Auditor General peer districts. You may wonder how this data shows us as below average considering the results of our annual compensation study. There are a couple of reasons for that. On the next slide, we'll dig in more deeply, but first I think it's important to realize when we do the compensation study, we are comparing against geographically near districts, whereas the Auditor General's Office identifies peers using different metrics. So it's a different comparison group of districts than what we use in the compensation study. This slide digs into the salary data in more detail, still utilizing data from the Auditor General's report. The first two columns I will bring your attention to is student per teacher ratio and average years of experience. All else equal, we would expect average salary to go down as student per teacher ratio goes down. And we would expect average teacher salary to go up as average years of experience goes up. However, what this data demonstrates more than anything is the impact the resources districts have available to them has on average teacher salaries. Many of the districts in our Auditor General comparison group are Title I districts and have access to a level of resources that Litchfield does not have access to. In fact, when you use all of these figures to determine the level of effort a district is making towards teacher pay, it shows a different story. I'm going to talk math for a second, just to explain the last column. When you multiply spending per student and the teacher to student ratio, you can determine how much is spent district-wide on an average classroom of students in those districts. When you compare this figure to the average teacher salary, you see that 28% of the spending in Litchfield is going to teacher salary, compared to 21% at the district with the highest average teacher salary. What this shows us is, for example, Roosevelt is paying so much more because they have so much more available to spend. And we really are doing the best we can with the resources we have available to us. This report also includes this summary of student achievement, which shows that, as we know, Litchfield outperforms our peers and the state averages on state assessments. At this time, I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
Ms. Moran?
I have one question and then I have some comments. So my question is on slide 13, which shows the average teacher salary over history since 2017. We see that the gap seems to be closing on us being above the state average teacher salary. So I wanted to try to get some insight from you or some thoughts from you on that.
I've seen a lot of districts over the last couple of years make cuts to give higher raises. And we frankly haven't done that. So we've given a 2% raise, at least for the time I've been here. And that 2% comes from the inflation adjustments that the state gives us. But what I've seen in other districts is they're willing to cut other things to give larger raises, where we have made a conscious decision, I would say, to keep status quo where we can and give the raise that the state kind of builds into the equation, if you will.
And when you say cuts to other things, what are some examples of those things?
Staff. So, you could reduce, and I want to make clear, I'm not talking about doing any of these things, but you could reduce other supports in classrooms or raise class sizes, for example, to save money and then pour that into a higher raise. Whereas in Litchfield, we've made a conscious decision of saying we want as many supports as we can have, and we'll give the raise that the finances support, assuming keeping the supports equal.
So what I think I hear you saying is that we have conscientiously made the decision to not only make it a better place to work for our teachers by providing more supports, but actually accomplishing our mission, which is student success, by offering those supports. Even if our salary may not be higher than others, we're still comparable to others while maintaining, which the academic success shows in this report as well, that you have to have a balance between those things. So we're trying to balance what's in the best interest of student success with also providing the best environment for our teachers and school staff.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. My comments have to do with how proud I am to be part of a board and an administration that tries to balance these things, that looks at all of the pieces of the puzzle that have to go together with the limited funds, to your point, that we are given, not only from the state, but also from our community, and viewing and analyzing a report like this from an outside source is so valuable to our voters and constituents that shows what we are doing with their funds and how we are making the most of every single dollar. We do not take that for granted. And we are trying to be as effective and efficient as possible with every dollar that's entrusted to us. So I am just really happy to be part of this district. And I'm happy that we have an amazing staff from the top down that help to make that happen every day. And I believe we have our priorities in the right place. And I want to see that continue.
Thank you.
Mr. Mikes?
Yeah, I know this came out in February, and when I was first looking at everything, I sat back and I was really proud to be part of the Litchfield district, and the breakdown and the focus that you give, the transparency that the district has as a whole to, in the end, just like Ms. Moran said, when we're looking at using these funds and what do we do with these funds, and we get it into the classroom, impact on the kids and their success, and that's the bottom line for us. And we do it with efficiency. You always say, hey, how do we get more money in the teachers' pockets, or where can we put that? And I appreciate the extra analysis for showing how that happens. And then also to help with, it's a big puzzle, but a little bit more clarity as far as, everything's connected in some way. And so, moving one thing to the side as opposed to another, I mean, there can be some unintended consequences for that. And I appreciate the very specific process that you guys go through with this. And so, yeah, just overwhelmingly proud for how we do that, the transparency we have, the fiscal responsibility that we have, something that our community should be very proud of.
Thank you.
Okay, so I agree with everything that my fellow board members said. I am going to say one thing though. I want us to keep an eye on this, how we're getting closer and closer to that state average, because one of the things I am really proud of is that we also do pay our teachers really well. And we know that we pay them better than the areas like the school districts around us, but teachers are seeing this report too. And while I appreciate your explanation, not everybody's going to listen to all of that. They're just going to see this report and that's all that they're going to see. So I think it's important that we keep paying attention to this and doing the best we can, like we have been and we always will do. I believe that we're going to keep doing that, but I know that this will be something I want to just keep an eye on. So, but thank you guys for all the hard work you put in, because the reason we have this amazing report is because of the hard work that everybody puts in, all of our admin team, and then us board members, because we work really hard when we're going through this budget stuff every year too, to make sure that we're making responsible decisions so that our students are having what they need and our teachers are having what they need. Thank you for the presentation. And if nobody has any other questions or anything, I need a motion and we're going to be done before 7. Everybody, I'm so happy.
I'll move to adjourn the meeting.
I will second.
Having a motion from Mr. Mikes and a second from Ms. Moran, I'll call for the vote. Ms. Moran?
Yay.
Mr. Mikes?
Yay.
I'm also a yay. Motion passes. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you for joining us. I'm so excited we're done before 7.